Okay, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool. Okay.
The Google Hangout.
Yep.
On the left hand side, icon with an arrow on it.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Then click that.
Okay. So
now what we did in so if you click up then select
okay.
That and then click share.
Right.
That'll then bring presentation to the streaming window at full screen.
Okay.
At the base of that there'll be stop sharing button, which if you click that will then take you back to yourself. You want to then show you slides, then stop sharing, carry on.
Yeah, so we use Zoom a lot, so it's quite similar to Zoom in that respect. So I'm sharing my slides now. Are you seeing those?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So stop sharing. Okay, I've clicked stop sharing, but it hasn't. Oh, okay, I see. Right, so when I click stop sharing, I need to come out of the actual window. Fine, okay. And yeah. Okay, right. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Shall we? Do you want to test my microphone or?
Yeah, what I'll do now is basically, I can see you.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm getting into the whole conversation.
Yeah.
I'll hang up when you're ready.
Okay.
Catch up after if that's okay.
Can I just ask one question? Is there a chat? Is there a chat room? There is the chat box. Is that going to be visible during? Do I have to click it to make it visible? Okay. 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 No. Okay. And so when I finish the presentation, I'll just come back to the video. How will I know if there are any questions? Will someone else come on? Mm. Yeah. So I'll need to. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay, I think I've got it. Okay. Yeah. By the way, this won't be the room I'm using next week. I just have it'll be a I'll be somewhere else and just have a blank background. So
yeah, that's fine. I mean, on the day, we'll get into the something like that. Might end up
oh yeah,
we'll make sure all that is
okay,
already.
right,
The way that the kind of works when it gets past law, ultimately,
okay.
it'll pull through.
So
There,
yeah.
there or not. Close contact. Driving it forward,
Yeah.
we can kind of modify.
So you on the actual day, then you'll cue me to start. Someone will.
More or less, yeah. But when you're,
Yeah. Mm.
it'll be on. Start presenting.
But how will I?
Speak to you until
Right. So how will I?
that's kind of the only way you'll. That's anything else. When we can email you on it once, you'll only just automate.
Yeah.
It's pulling all the location through to potential.
That's fine. That's not an issue. But sometimes, so because I have this when I do webinars, you know, timings can be out by a minute or so. So you know, 1 o'clock on my watch might be, you know, 1 minute past. So I suppose what I'm guessing, I'm asking is will someone just say, I don't know, send me a text and say go, or will I just sort of say, right, I decide it's 11 o'clock, so I'm going.
Yeah, we can do both. Just thinking, yeah. I mean, do it. They're out, man. The only problem is when far it was over, that bit again. Like,
Mm.
we'll let you know then. We'll kind of do that.
It's up to you. Yeah, I mean,
because
yeah.
then our system will have scheduled it in 1 o'clock.
Mm.
When it's 1 o'clock and it's 1 o'clock and it's on live.
Yeah.
So we'll give you.
Okay, so it's up to you guys here, because I mean I can go on my watch, but you know, I noticed when doing webinars, you know, I can look at the time on, you know, which is an automatic watch that sets, you know, it's not me setting it, and then I can look at my time on my laptop, and it'll be a minute or two out. So anyway, no worries. Oh, wait. Okay, so you want me to go ahead and do the actual presentation now? Is that right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, do you want me to do the whole thing or just run it through? I mean, what's the point? Are you trying to, are you kind of checking that I'm on time, or are you just checking that the slides work, or what's the purpose? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah, we're checking that.
sure. Okay, no problem.
But if you have time,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, I mean, I just threw the slides together yesterday, so it's stuff that I've done before. No, that's fine. Yeah. No, it's fine. Okay. So are you gonna be okay to time me then? Oh, I'll keep my watch going. Okay. So shall we put this call down then? Shall I close this call down? All right. Okay. Thanks, Chris. Okay. Welcome to this webinar. Well, welcome to this presentation. My name is Kevin Ruck. I'm going to talk to you today about the roles that I think leaders in organisations have to listen to people as well as communicate with and to them. It's really going to challenge some of our thinking about what we often assume a leadership role to be, which is to kind of inspire and motivate, if you like, through powerful presentations or powerful conversations that we have inside organizations. So I think I'm going to turn that on its head a little bit, really, and suggest to you guys that we need to be coaching and advising and suggesting to leaders in organizations that they ought to be spending more time listening than telling. Who am I? My name's Kevin Ruck. Some of you may know me from the textbook that I edit and co-author called Exploring Internal Communication. It's going to be coming out. The fourth edition is going to be coming out later this year in the autumn, published by Routledge, completely revised edition, focusing much more on strategy, planning, and also a completely new section on digital communication and a chapter on the impact of AI and automation on internal communication. So some of you may also know that I am the course leader for the CIPR's Specialist Diploma in Internal Communication. I've been running that for nearly 10 years now. So I guess let's start by thinking about how important it is for leaders to listen. So the best thing to do is to ask employees really about what they think when it comes to the way leaders should listen to what they have to say. And when I did my research for my PhD thesis at the University of Central Lancashire, I did go out and I spoke to a number of employees. I ran 9 focus groups, had 27 individual interviews with employees. And I also did a survey, and there were 2,066 responses from employees, asking them a number of questions about internal communication. But one of the questions I was interested in was the way that organizations and leaders listen to what employees have to say. And when I spoke to employees face to face and in focus groups, without any prompting whatsoever, they were very very concerned that they wanted to be part of what they thought was a progressive organization. And they associated organizations where senior managers and leaders listened to them as being a sign of being in a progressive organization. And, we're working in different times. We're working in a kind of social media era. People are expecting today to have the opportunity to express their views and opinions on all sorts of things. And of course, this does extend into the workplace, although there are some different dynamics, I think, that apply to what people say at work compared to what they might say externally on their Facebook pages. But anyway, what effect does listening to employees have? And again, this emerged through interviews that I conducted with employees, and where responses were made. So this is not just about leaders listening and then going away and forgetting what was said. This was where leaders actually did listen seriously. I'll come on to this point in a second or two. But where leaders were seriously listening to what employees had to say, it's certainly, without, again, any prompting, the feeling that employees related back to me was that they felt more valued as people. And this is really all about the human connection that we're talking about here inside organizations, and the way that feeling valued is very important to employees as individuals. And this doesn't necessarily have to be a long and drawn out conversation. It can be as simple as a senior manager just kind of like wandering along an open place office and saying hi to people. And it might just be as simple as that. The fact that that senior manager has taken the time out to go and have an informal chat is really important. So when we looked at the data, the quantitative data, what emerged was the way that senior managers listened to what employees had to say turned out to be the strongest aspect of internal communication that was associated with employees rating their organization as a good organization to work for. So this is called a correlation. So it's basically, we can say that there is a strong association between leaders listening to employees and then employees thinking that their organisation is a good organisation to work for. And of course, this extends into employee engagement. And of course, employee engagement is well known to be associated with a number of other benefits for organisations, including organisational success, and of course also better employee well-being. And this does feed into well-being. The opportunities for employees to talk to their leaders and for their leaders to listen to what they have to say, I think quite obviously is going to probably lead to higher levels of employee well-being, because that sense of frustration of not ever being able to say what you think to anybody is a very negative kind of way of thinking. It's worth noting here that in other aspects of internal communication, senior manager communication generally was strongly associated. Numbers there are levels of correlation. So correlations between 0 and +1. And here we're seeing 0.55 as the strongest correlation, 0.54, not much difference really, for keeping employees informed in senior manager communication. Line manager communication also associated with, the organisation being a good place to work, but not as strong an association as that shown for employee voice and senior manager communication. When it comes to senior managers, one of the issues that employees have is that they say that their senior managers are not always very visible or approachable. So this is an issue, and this is why I've titled this presentation "Listen Up, I'm a Leader," because effectively it's a focus on listening. And leadership is about listening as much as it is, or even perhaps as more so than it is about telling or informing or persuading. So one of the issues about listening and leaders understanding their role as listeners is that it does incorporate an element of visibility and approachability. So, employees are not really going to feel very able to express some of their thoughts or feelings to senior managers if they don't ever actually see them, or if they do and they don't feel they're very approachable. So the way to go about doing this for senior leaders inside organizations is to make a conscious effort to be more visible and be more approachable. And in terms of organizing events where employees have an opportunity to speak to senior managers and express their thoughts and feelings, what employees said to me was that they wanted that to take place ideally in sort of face-to-face setting, although other ways of communicating ideas and thoughts to leaders are also appreciated. But ideally they were talking about small informal gatherings face-to-face, where there's a focus on local context of what's going on in terms of that particular team or that part of the organization, and it being much more informal in nature, with the emphasis on listening and responding rather than telling our employees about what's going on. When it comes to how well we think leaders are doing at listening to employees, we ran some research at PR Academy with the IABC in the UK earlier this year, and we asked practitioners what communication skills were valued most inside their organisations. And you can see, not surprisingly, writing came out as the most highly rated skill. But look at the two. Well, listening to stakeholders is shown as the second most valued skill. Nearly sort of 45% of people were saying that was a valued skill. However, compare that to listening to employees, which just got a just above a 30% rating. So it seems to us that when it comes to listening to employees, this data suggests that leaders are more inclined, to listen to external stakeholders than they are to employees, and that's a bit of a curious finding to us. When it comes to how to go about listening as a leader, there are three key aspects to how we go about doing this. First of all, it's got to be active listening. That's to say, it's not tokenistic. Leaders have to really go into it with an open mind to really hear what is being said by employees. they have to be prepared to respond authentic. That entails thinking seriously about what's being said and not just dismissing it out of hand. And finally, it endorses, and this is a really important point, leaders have to create an environment where it is safe to speak out. So when I spoke to employees, many of them did express a fear about saying something that they thought maybe kind of like wouldn't go down very well, and that might be held against them in some kind of way, without really saying exactly what that was. So there is a real genuine fear, and that has to be alleviated through gaining trust over time, through a process whereby employees really do feel safe to speak out. Create a relaxed space for the conversation. This is a quote from an interview that I did with one of the employees at the organizations where I did my research. And it's really this emphasis on informality, less PowerPoint, be a conversation, and that creating that relaxed, trustworthy sort of environment for employees to express what they were thinking or feeling. It doesn't really matter, actually, when it comes down to it. I mean, although employees did say that they would prefer to be able to talk to their leaders in face-to-face environments, of course, it could be an online forum that could be used, whatever the sort of method, if you like, that we put into place inside our organizations, which enables leaders to listen to their employees. The key point, it's not the channel or the medium. The key point here is the informality that is used and applied in whatever format we use. That is the important thing for employees. So small groups, larger town hall events where employees go along, and they do value those kind of things because they get information that they're interested in. But these are not the environments for employees generally to express their thoughts and feelings to senior managers, usually because it's just too threatening an environment to put your hand up at the end of the session and say something. So smaller group settings really are what employees said that they wanted. When we asked about how to go about doing this, another thing that came out was that it needs to be systemic. That's to say, it's not just a one-off exercise or occasional listening lunch. It has to be part of a wider ongoing process. And these are sorts of things that practitioners said, internal communication managers said to us are important. Make listening a professional kind of activity within your strategic planning. Provide some information up front before the event, whatever it is. It has to be properly facilitated. It has to be a proper adult-to-adult conversation. Things need to be taken back and considered. So if employees are saying similar things across a range of different listening events, then that needs to be clustered and reported. All sorts of channels can be used, as I've said earlier, but again, face-to-face was preferred. I've talked about it being informal, and of course, the key thing is that employees expect something to come back. That's not to say they expect senior leaders to do exactly what it is they're suggesting or put their ideas into action without any kind of thought, but it is important to respond back to tell employees what has been thought of or considered, what might or might not be done. So it's closing that final loop. Thanks so much. That's for listening to my session today. I think it's really important that we really start to think about putting listening into place, and it really is important that leaders listen, and we put that at the heart of our listening strategies. If you do have any questions, I should have said at the start, then you can obviously put those in, and I'll see if we've got any questions and pick those up now.